Well, hey there, everyone, and welcome. Let's talk energies. Let's talk energies this past week and energies that we can expect going into this next week, finishing up November 2023 and going into December 2023. My name is Lisa of Energy Gal Holistic Wellness. I am an intuitive healer and spiritual guide, and I sure am glad to have you along for the ride today. Oh my gosh, it has been a whirlwind over the Thanksgiving holiday. I had all 5 of my children come home and grace me with their presence. And I cooked and cleaned, and now I've got 3 days worth of laundry to have to do, and it's all worth it. So I hope that you found a sense of peace during the holidays as well. I can tell you that as much as I enjoyed having my children around, and I most certainly did, the energies in the world were so big. I'm just going to play it real from you, straight from the hip here, shooting it, is, man, I cried a lot. There was this overwhelming frequency of grief that I was feeling and sensing on behalf of the collective. It was this hopelessness, this really down deep into the marrow of the bones grief, where I struggled to even feel like I wanted to get up and out of bed. And so I was glad that I had my children there because it gave me kind of a reason and a purpose to get up and get going. But it was, if I'm being honest, it was a slug. It was a very challenging few days. And I can only believe that there was a lot of alchemizing of these grief frequencies that was happening during that particular period of time. And I'm wondering if you felt any of that as well. I know that many of you watching are empaths, are highly sensitive. And if you're an empath that feels your own stuff very sensitively, then you may have felt this over the this past week. If you're someone who, what does my friend Jackie call me? She calls me a collective core conduit or something like that, where she said, you feel everything for everyone. And I said, yeah, that would be me. It's been that way all of my life. And so I'm just learning now how to be able to understand and manage that, even on the days when I can't quite understand it. But I'll know this must not be mine because I am awash in the emotions of whatever it was. And Thursday morning I got up, Thanksgiving, my husband was out hunting, he came home, and I just said, I just can't stop crying. I am grieving. And so he's very good about giving me hugs and saying, how can I help? So anyway, that was last week. All good. More big energy shifts for sure. More things being alchemized so that in our physical bodies, we are able to hold, to contain the consciousness of love, the Christ consciousness, that very pure frequency of love, that we can actually hold it in our bodies, which means grief needs to be alchemized. Not that there's anything wrong with it, not that there's anything bad about it. It's friggin' uncomfortable, but it just needs to be alchemized, moved through the collective. So, okay, that was last week. I have 2 things that I want to unpack for what I think is happening in this next week, in addition to the following few months. I don't think that just because we end the year December 31st, that the year ends and we start making New Year's resolutions and things go forward. I actually think that things are going to actually kind of get going more in the mid-spring area. So I think that December is going to be something that is, I'm hoping, full of celebration. It doesn't mean that there won't be uncomfortable moments of alchemizing energies, but I think that there will be a little bit of a settling. All the things that have been coming up, bubbling up to the surface, to be recognized, welcomed, embraced, loved, alchemized, will now continue to be integrated, I think, through December, January, February. And then I think March and April will ramp up again. So, okay, here are the things that I want to unpack that we can expect in this next week on into the next month or so. Big picture, little picture. Big picture, little picture. So here's what I think is happening. I think that there are so many of us who have this ginormous big picture of how this whole thing, this journey is going to, maybe not how it's going to unpack, what it looks like at the end. What it looks like when we finally, quote, get there. We see the big picture. It's very philosophical. It's very ideological, metaphorical. We get the big picture. It's like we're standing on the top of the mountain and we look out over everything and we see the whole parade from here. We see the beginning of the parade, the middle of the parade, the end of the parade. We see how the whole thing is going to happen. At the same time, and this undergirds everything that's coming up now, we are going to be called to go down the mountain into the valley and suss out the details. Suss out the step 1, step 2, step 3. Suss out the minutia. Suss out the daily, practical feet on the ground. So I got head in the clouds. We're up on the mountaintop seeing the big picture. Feet on the ground. Bring it into reality. Incarnate and manifest the things that you saw while you were having your visions while you're up at the top of the mountain. I hope I'm unpacking this clearly. We're up at the top of the mountain, pulled the skin away like Jesus did. This is who I actually am underneath the skin. But what does he do? Peter, James, and John, they're all hanging with him. And one of them is like, probably Peter, is like, let's build temples here and stay. And Jesus is like, well, heck no. We are called to go down into the valley and commiserate, to be in community and be with each other. And in that space, heal. So we are called to incarnate our bodies, to come more fully into our physical bodies, holding on to the frequency of our true identity, which is love. So, big picture, dreams, going down into the valley, feet on the ground, practical minutia details being sussed out. How's that land for you? It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. When I was sitting in my prayer closet asking for direction from the bubbling up inside of me, immediately that came out and I wrote down big picture, philosophical, ideological, metaphorical, head in the clouds. But suss out the details, minutia, daily, practical, feet on the ground. And I'm like, okay, all right, that sounds doable. Okay, I got that. I think that there'll be a lot of laughter. I think that there'll be a lot of healing in the laughter. I think that, again and again, I keep saying we're coming out of the age of talking about our trauma and just allowing it to bubble up and safely be alchemized. Not try to figure out why, what, all that shadow work. I really think we're coming into a season of allowing ourselves in a place of joy to be held by the reflection of ourselves, held by other people, physically held. I'm having a retreat here not this next weekend, but the following weekend with a half a dozen friends or so. Happens to be my husband's 60th birthday, and we're going to be celebrating. And I believe that there's going to be tremendous healing through the vibrational sound therapy that I'm bringing into the space, the sound bowl sessions that I'm bringing, but also frickin' dancing. We are going to be dancing and laughing and eating I'm having one of the nights catered with some appetizers, and we're going to be having an effing blast. And I think just by doing that, the frequency raises up. And in that space, and I hate to say raises up, we call it raising vibrations because there isn't negative, positive, higher, lower. It's the way we speak in this language, but it's the frequencies of love and joy and laughter and peace that cast out, slough off the frequencies of trauma, any kind of fear. So that's what I think is coming. The other thing I got was, I love when spirit does this, because this is so, like, I'm looking at it now and I'm realizing this is so cool. Like, I'm having a moment. Allow me my moment. Oh, it's a moment of faith. Oh my goodness. A moment of faith, belief, a moment of I'm not crazy. How could I just wrote this down? So how could that be? The words that I'm getting are weird and wired. And if you look at it, those are the same letters, W-E-I-R-D and W-I-R-E-D. You can't make it up. So the first is weird, which means out of this world. And what I'm sensing is we are going to come into this deeper understanding of our identity. And that's out of this world. Are we going to realize that we have alien in us? I don't know. Are we going to have some kind of interaction with aliens? I don't know. Are we going to know more about AI and what's going on with that? I don't know. But I do know that we are going to come into a deeper understanding of our identity, and it is going to sink into the marrow of our bones. We're going to realize that we are not of this world. We are just in this world. We are not of this world. We are in this world, but we are out of this world. We are weird. Own it and claim it. And then the other word was wired. And this phrase was given me, you are in this world. So weird was out of this world. Wired is into this world. And I've got plugged in, turned on, tuned in. That there is a coming online. Oh my God, and this speaks to me of so many things, is that we are going to be using the internet to be able to create communities. We're doing it now, but even more and more of like-minded, and that will be all the people who are gathering for this small retreat that I'm having. They're people that I've met online. They're just a group of people who are like, we all are feeling the same thing. Let's all get together. So I think that there's going to be a lot of community as we continue to be wired into this world, as we continue to come into our physical bodies. So the part of us that's out of this world is that Christ consciousness, that divine spark, that spirit that is us, that God consciousness. But we're being wired into this world. We are coming into our physical bodies. That's why the trauma is alchemizing, because we are going to be, when we talk about Jesus coming again, and so many people believe that there might be this Jesus who comes in the clouds flying on another cloud or something. I'm not sure, but what speaks to me is that the Christ consciousness is going to be incarnate in our physical bodies, that is what we are doing. So yeah, Jesus is coming again in each and every one of us. So I was led to bring out my tarot cards. That doesn't usually happen. I don't usually make a big deal. I'm going to put this microphone over here. Hopefully you can still hear me. All right, so one card came bouncing out. 7 of Wands, stand your ground. This one comes out and it says, when you know who you are, so be in the process of knowing who you are, what your true identity is as God's spark, as divine, as a piece of the whole, as the all, and then stand your ground. Don't back down from believing that, from knowing that, from traveling further down the path of discovering, remembering, and then being that. Once you know, you can't not know. So that can be uncomfortable just because people will be like, well, hold on. We liked you better this way when you were the victim. We liked you better when we could usurp your boundaries. We liked you better when we could make you afraid. We liked you better then. And you can be like, well, I'm going to stand my ground. You can see it. I am who I am. So let's see if another one comes up. Ba-ba-da-bam. Okay. Okay. This one comes up when two things. When you're about to face one of your biggest fears. And when you do, it's a life trajectory changing moment. The trajectory of your life changes forever as you face one of your deepest fears. And you know what I think one of our deepest fears is? It reminds me of a quote. I'm going to make sure I'm getting this. I'm looking at my microphone here. A quote by Williamson. She said, we're not so afraid that maybe we are too small, or how'd she say it? What we're most afraid of is the fact that we are freaking amazing, that we are a child of God, that we are God's spark, and that we shine so brightly. That's what we're afraid of. We're actually more afraid of our greatness than we are that we're just little, or something like that. And that's what speaks to me about these two cards. Facing your deepest fear, which is you're freaking amazing, powerful, manifesting creator who is on the verge of discovering who you are, remembering and waking up to that truth and living it, being it. And then saying, I'm not backing down. I'm not going back. There's no going back. But in that space, it can be a very scary thing to do. Okay, let's draw one more. Three of Pentacles. Okay, so you found out who you are, and you stand your ground in that, regardless of the discomfort around you or the ways that it makes you uncomfortable, other people around you uncomfortable. You're giving them permission to do the same, by the way. And then you get recognized and rewarded for who you are, because you are abundance manifest. You are peace manifest. You aren't just, well, I'm hoping to have peace someday. I'm hoping to have abundance someday. You are that. You are peace. You are joy. You are health. You are abundance. You are wisdom. You're not trying to get there. You're waking up to remembering you're already there. And anything that doesn't agree with that is just yesterday's news. Old paradigm that can slough off. Water off a duck's back at that point. You walk in the truth of who you are and celebrate that. You are the party. You're not trying to find a party. You're not trying to anything. You are Wonderland. You're not trying to get to Wonderland. You are the wonder. Okay. Well, that was interesting. That was an interesting. So what do you do with all that? Again, I tell you, this is less information and it's more a download of a transmission of truth that is coming through to you. So all you have to do is, I receive. Mm. 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 So this week, Tuesday, guided meditation, please do them. They help shift your frequency. They bypass the mind. They bypass the mind. Bypass the ego. That is what they do. They bypass the ego. The mind is still good. Bypass the ego. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday, I unpack a little something that might help you on your journey, a little mind-body connection. Thursday's a sound bowl meditation, frequency healing. This Friday is my husband. He and I are talking about the manifestations of miracles that we've had in our lives. So as you listen to that, you can partake of miracle manifestation as well. So I hope you have a wonderful week. If there's anything that landed especially for you, please subscribe, like, comment, share. I'm just a small little channel here wanting to reach out to like-minded people, create a community that is curious, compassionate, and courageous while we are on our spiritual journey. So if you would like any assistance, I'd be happy to walk beside you for a season of time. Check in with any of the links below. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. Know that I love you. And here's a hug.